Jason Grill. Welcome to Deontology.
Hey, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you on the podcast.
Of course. I love it.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
It's great to be here. I've got my donut. I got my coffee. I'm excited.
I've already dug in.
Known you for, about a year or two?
Yeah, it's been about that. I came on Grill Nation, which is an awesome radio show.
Thank you.
So, yeah, just kind of tell
Saturdays 4 to 5 on 980 a.m.
Absolutely. Get that plug in. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've been up to.
So I am an entrepreneur and an attorney by trade. I'm a lawyer. I got into the political world. I served in the Missouri legislature. I've been interned in the White House and at CNN. And throughout that journey in politics and law afterwards, I started my own business to cut to the chase, to do a lot of my own media work, writing, TV, radio, as well as consulting. So I do a lot of public affairs, public policy, media relations, crisis comms, consulting through J. Grill Media, but also I'm a senior advisor at a company called Parris Communications. Met Roshan Parris a while back, about 5 years ago. We hit it off, and so I do a lot of work for them as well on a lot of those similar issues, a lot of crisis communications, a lot of PR and whatnot. And on the side, I host Grill Nation show, where I talk to cool people like you and hear their stories about their backgrounds and what made them successful.
Yeah, so what is your background?
My background is basically in a lot of different things, I guess. Entrepreneurship, law, politics. I grew up here, grew up in Kansas City, have lived in Italy, have lived in D.C., but came back to Kansas City.
What'd you do in Italy?
Studied abroad,
Okay,
Roma.
awesome. Yeah.
When I was in college, went to St. Louis University for undergrad, an economics major, poli-sci minor, and then Mizzou Law School. In between, lived in D.C. for a couple internship stints. Always found my way back to Kansas City. Grew up a Northland kid, went to St. Pius X. Now I live in the Luce Park, Brookside area. It's a great neighborhood, and I love Kansas City.
And you've done a lot to your house. I have to say, I've been following the progress on Instagram.
So I'm very excited about my backyard remodel. I did a lot of work on it with a great company here, and then my friends helped me build a indoor-outdoor garage bar. So
I love it. And maybe the future site of a new media project for you, hopefully.
We'll have you come on and do the outdoor interview at some point soon. Play some golf in the backyard.
I love it. So with politics and law, they obviously go hand in hand. Was there a defining moment for you when you decided, hey, I'm going to run for office?
Well, so I did I caught the bug when I did the DC internship. I know you know a lot about that stuff with Clinton administration, 2000. Sure. I ended up I got displaced from the economic development office into the vice president's office on day one.
Day one.
Yeah, they moved us around, and I was really excited to work on economic development with economic policies, Gene Sterling. But then I thought, you know what, it might be smart to go work in the vice presidential office. He is running for president. For one of his senior advisors. So I worked on empowerment zones, enterprise zones, and that kind of really, I caught the bug. So I thought my future was in D.C. Gore wins the presidential race. I was excited on election night. We all know what happened with Florida and hanging chads.
Yep.
So I came back here and finished, but that was kind of where I got the taste of it. While I was in law school at Mizzou, Andrew, I went back to D.C., interned at CNN, but came back and also did an internship in Jeff City.
Who was the correspondent for CNN at the time?
I worked, John King was the White House correspondent. Okay. I worked with a guy named Brooks Jackson, who was basically the first person who founded the political reality check. So he the commercials. He's founded factcheck.org.
Awesome.
And so that was really cool, and he was on air a lot. I got to meet Wolf Blitzer, John King, Tucker Carlson was there at the time on Crossfire.
Interesting.
It was a great internship, but my point is around that is I've always liked media and politics and law, and so. But I came back here and I interned in Jeff City, and then I kind of got recruited to run for office.
So did you volunteer then on the Gore campaign after your White House internship?
Yeah, I went to the DNC convention in L.A. I helped out that, Joe Lieberman and Gore. Honestly.
Do you have any stories from that campaign? Because that was one of the most defining moments of probably both of our lives in terms of politics.
I just remember Bill Clinton walking onto the. So it was really cool that it was in LA too, because as an intern we had this volunteer you had to put people in their seats and kind of look at the seating arrangements. Everyone that's worked in advance or logistics understands that. But we're placed in super celebrities. The LA convention really brought out the star power. The economy was good. I remember President Bill Clinton walking out and like all the achievements just racking up, and I was thinking to myself like this is a win. I think after that convention I thought it was going to be a win. I went to the after party.
Did you have dreams of like working in the White House then at that time?
So the senior advisor for Vice President Gore, later became the mayor of Jacksonville, Florida. Now I think he's involved with other things, but he was probably going to be elevated to the president's office and senior advisor in economic policy.
Wow.
So it was awesome. Great memories. I mean, I remember being at the Sky Bar in West Hollywood afterwards for the party, and you got Sean Connery over here, and then next to you on the other side is Sean Hannity. Before Sean Hannity became the Sean Hannity is today, he was a TV guy then, more so. But yeah, it was interesting times. I mean, I was lucky to have that opportunity, and back then, when you applied to those things, it was all through a book, and there was no real.
Yeah.
You needed a ton of interviews, background checks. It was good. I just caught the bug there, and then loved.
So then you came back to Missouri.
Yeah,
one election for House of Reps.
Yeah.
Tell me about your time there.
You know, it was a totally interesting job to have. I really enjoyed it. I worked really hard. I mean, we've seen in the recent times just how hard other candidates like Jason Kander worked.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest state legislator until he got elected 2 years after me to serve in the state legislature. Great guy. Quentin Lucas, our new mayor, worked his tail off in his campaign. I mean, really it was about knocking on doors and getting out there and talking to folks as a young candidate. That's kind of the nature of the game, and really showing a lot of energy. And so, yeah, it was a really cool time. I really enjoyed campaigning. I really enjoyed, kind of the policy stuff. I didn't enjoy driving to Jeff City every week.
Yeah, I mean, that's
for
a little
6
drive.
months a year, living there was kind of rough, but I met a lot of great people. The job really teaches you to handle 1,000 different balls, which in my career I've had to do with client services and starting my own companies and whatnot. And so it's just a great experience. I think everyone should get involved in a campaign at some point in their career or run for office, for whether it's school board, whether it's, county office, whether it's state office, whether it's city office. At least get involved. It was a cool time, and it was a really interesting experience as a young person. We got stuff accomplished. I'm very bipartisan.
What was your most proud accomplishment or most proud moment?
So mine was in 2010. We passed the autism insurance reform bill. Me and a legislator from St. Louis co-sponsored that together. Governor Nixon signed it at the time. It basically allowed autism therapies to be covered by insurance. At the time, they were not. There was only maybe 15 states that they were.
Wow.
And so that was a big step. And now there's many more states. But at the time, all these parents had no coverage for any of their behavioral therapies, and autism was really becoming a major issue. So that was by far, and today it still works. I get a letter from the Governor Nixon talking about what improvements have been made since we passed the bill. So that was by far my favorite memory, and then just some of the relationships you formed and really helping people, and it was a good experience. But I'm happy to be back in Kansas City.
Yeah. So I mean, politicians, during elections, they said they're gonna go fix wherever they're going, Washington, Jeff City.
Yeah. We're
gonna get things done. Mm-hmm. But don't you think that our government is designed not to get things done?
Sometimes it is, but
with intent, like that. That's why it was formed that way. So
checks and balances, balances of power. I agree with that. It's funny, when I've been in office, the first term I had, it was all GOP, governor, state house, state senate. The second term it was governor, Democrat, and then mixed.
What were the years?
06 to 10, so 2 terms.
Okay,
so we had Nixon and Blunt as governors at various times in that, but very heavily Republican legislature. I'm a very moderate Democrat. My district was much more Republican than Democrat when I got elected. But yeah, I agree with that. I think you have to find common ground. I think that's been missing in government these days.
How does a Democrat get elected then in a Republican district?
Work hard, and I grew up there. Obviously, that helped. I'd go to doors and people would agree with me on most things. I mean, I'm very moderate. And
is there still room for moderates in today's day and age?
I hope so. It
seems like the fringe seems to dominate everything, at least the headlines, obviously. But
they do in the coverage. You're right. I think there is. I think we're going to see. Well, we'll see in this presidential race kind of the way the Democratic Party goes. I mean, there's a ton of moderate centrist Democrats. I mean, I come out of more of the Bill Clinton new kind of Democrat, moderate,
Yeah.
cloak, JFK, those more moderate Democrats. The liberals, I always would say, like, you can't win an election in my district. There was zero chance as a liberal Democrat. In Platte County, it was very Republican when I was in office. And so you have to really kind of find ways to work with the other people in the district and get them to support you. I mean, very big entrepreneurial supporter, young company supporter, small business supporter. That always helped. From a great Catholic family, and my parents are great. That helped a lot. But anyway, so yeah, it was
so
it
a
was
lot of
always hard. I mean,
factors,
I'd knock on a door and people would be like, "Man, I really like you. We talked
they
through.
can't-
We
they
talked
can't
through
vote
10,
for you, right?
We talked through 10 issues, and they agree with me on 9 and 10, and they'd be like, "I can't vote for you because you have a D by your name." And I'd say, "That's unfortunate." But more people than not, because it was a state election, state house election, would switch tickets back then, which is positive. I always think it's good for people to like vote on the candidate and give each candidate the right proper screening and before you vote, straight party.
If the country was founded today, do you think there would still be two-party system? I mean, because everyone complains about it, but nothing ever seems to really change on that front.
Every one of my friends that is not in politics or worked in politics complains about it. They want an independent. I mean, half the people wanted me to run as an independent, friends, but I was like, that's not how it works. And I think that's going to change.
You need
over
resources.
time.
It costs a lot of money to run.
Yeah, and getting on the ballots and all the back end stuff. It's going to be interesting if both parties continue to go far to the extremes. What happens in the middle? And there might be room for a third party, but
It's always kind of pop up every once in a while throughout the country's history, but nothing ever seems to really gain a lot of traction.
There might be a moderate. I mean, we see this in other countries. There's all kinds of parties, but I have more Republican friends now that are, as they say, classic Republicans, more pro-business, socially more liberal, that are just kind of stuck in the middle, and there's a lot of Democrats that are like that as well. So you never know, right?
Yeah.
But you can get things accomplished in government. I will say that there is ways if you actually are open, you listen to all sides, you present good ideas.
Yeah, I guess obviously if you get the majority of people behind it, stuff will get done.
Yeah, it will,
and that involves a lot of compromising.
And in Missouri, you can do that because there are good coalitions.
Yeah.
Now again, though, on the federal level, it's a lot tougher.
Sure.
It's just way too partisan. I mean, honestly, I'm not running for. I pretty much decided after 10 I wasn't going to run in 12. It's just too partisan at the moment, and it's become more partisan. Although I think if you look at polling, there's some instances where you see like the independents and the people that want to actually get stuff done are coming together a little bit.
So, right now you're doing a lot of policy advising and crisis communications. It's crisis public affairs. Yeah. But it's crisis communications like you see on the show Scandal. Like, is there?
I've never watched that show, but everyone brings it up. Is it good?
I mean, it's really good. Yeah,
Olivia
I
Pope,
enjoyed it.
right?
Yeah, Olivia Pope. I mean, and where there's some major crisis. Like, can you walk me through like that sort of process? How does that happen? Like, does someone I assume on the political side?
Well, I don't really work in the political crisis. I work more in the corporate business.
I mean, you don't have to give me a specific example.
Well, I could give you a few. So in public affairs, the work I do is I'll work with associations or foundations on connecting the policy recommendations and figuring all that out and making sure they're aware of what's going on the local and state level. I had a great experience working with the Kauffman Foundation through J-Grow Media for 6 years on 6 Statement of Works, where we basically built a mayor's conference on entrepreneurship, connecting mayors to policies that actually can help entrepreneurs. We had over 100 mayors come to that.
Wow.
That was one of my best people I've ever worked with, and that really gave me energy because mayors are actually making things happen in this country. As far as crises, think of a 8-alarm fire going off next to a neighborhood where there's embers flying into people's homes. And, there is a casualty in a railroad or a multi-development site. There is a disgruntled employee issue. There is a CEO that won't leave. There is a product liability crisis where people are freaking out. There is a data breach for a department store or a healthcare insurance company. I mean, there's all kinds of different crises. those are more like what we deal with.
Yeah.
Than the,
I mean, but how do
than
you-
the TV show
Yeah.
affairs or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, how do you deal with it though? I mean, what's the strategy? Is it divert, downplay?
No, you accept. A lot of times, if there's a serious issue, you have to take a step back, and you have to really kind of think about, with lawyers usually, if there's any kind of damage to property or whatnot, or a death or a casualty or an injury. And sometimes, just say you're sorry. Like the United Airlines example was completely bungled when the guy got dragged off the airplane, and the CEO.
Oh yeah.
The CEO literally screwed up his statement 4 or 5 times. Another recommendation is don't do a press conference right out of the chute if you have nothing to say to the media. They will not like that. They want to have information. So, you could send out a statement, as things are getting evaluated. But yeah, it's just to remain calm. It's hard to do if you're the principal in the matter, and that's kind of where a company or a person or a group would come in and say, we'll handle the media, we'll help you with your messaging.
Especially
we'll
if there's another person involved. Like, there's not always people.
A lot of employees sometimes are involved too.
Yeah.
Talking to internally to employees about how to handle situations if a member of a press. Specific example, I won't name the name, but a place where there's a lot of young employees. And people from the press were reaching out to them on Facebook, LinkedIn, and just telling them, like, here's kind of what you should do and the protocols. And, we do crisis communications plans we've done them for universities, for all kinds of different people. And just, you can kind of predict potential scenarios that might happen to your business, A data breach. Most people can predict it if they're dealing with credit a lot. An active shooter. I mean, a lot of universities have dealt with that, a lot of stores. So there's these things you can work through and build kind of plans out.
Yeah, it's important to have a plan versus just being purely reactionary to whatever.
And so that's kind of an interesting job for me, or working with Parris Communications and other with our crisis clients, because it kind of involves the legal aspects, because usually there's a lawyer involved or a law firm, and it's their client, and you have privilege, and you have certain things lawyers will want to say to the public that PR people would disagree with, or vice versa. You have kind of sometimes a political aspect if, it involves a major issue in someone's political district, notifying them, working with them, whether it's, if it's a casualty or a fire or a huge event. And then you also have the media aspect. So it really kind of combines those 3 passions of mine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a client service space. So we've talked about this many times. Most stuff I do is client service based. I did co-found a SOC company, which is a product-based company, but I want to continue to grow and do more and more, tangible, reoccurring revenue type models.
Who doesn't?
But yeah, client services is stressful, and I know in our pre-show notes I will say the good thing about it that does give me energy is you get to work on some amazing projects, whether you're in the public affairs space, whether it's working on the airport project or a new development or saving a business and a brand in a crisis. I mean, they combine all these different things. My only thing I'll say that I did not want to be a full-time lawyer, as you can tell because I got into politics. I practiced law at a few firms. I decided I didn't want to do that out of politics and go work at a big firm, and so that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm kind of juggling a lot of balls, Andrew, and makes it exciting.
What really does, though, inspire you? You kind of talked a little bit about your passion there. I mean, what makes you happy? What inspires you? Why are you doing all this?
Good question. As I turned 40 this year, I kind of reevaluated all that stuff. I like just building relationships. I'm a relationship person. I like seeing companies succeed. I like seeing people succeed. It gives me energy. People with energy like yourself who care about their community and actually want to help grow businesses and grow communities and build, that gives me energy, and that makes me happy. I'm a pretty positive person, which helps. I run a decent amount. I like to play golf, as you do. Like family and friends make me happy. So yeah, I do all this stuff, and maybe sometimes on your journey in life, you're always trying to figure out what's best, what's not. And some clients are going to be terrible, and some are going to change your life. So it's the good with the bad. I just try to be positive about it.
Yeah. So I mean, can you talk about maybe a not so good or not so great situation? And, maybe how you dealt with it and
I mean,
lessons learned.
I'm lucky to have a really good mentor in my father, who is an attorney and has seen about everything in his life. Started his own law firm has dealt with tons of different general practice issues as far as divorces and family law and business law and whatnot. And so he's a good person to talk to and has always kind of helped me out with working. He always said, work harder than your next opponent or your adversary, and just treat people kindly. So so he has helped me through some of those tough situations. I mean, everyone has them, someone is a bad client, someone doesn't pay you on time, somebody is not the person you thought they were.
Mentors are huge, though. I mean, I'm glad that you brought that up because.
And also working with Roshan and Lori Roberts at Parris, they've seen everything too. So they're really good people to talk to as far as advice. And then lastly, my radio show, I've interviewed over 600 or 700 people throughout the years, and I've learned so much from them. So I would say there's always going to be another opportunity. There's always going to be there's going to be ups and downs, and just trying to make sure to remain even keel and not be impulsive. I find too many people in life are somewhat impulsive with their emotions and don't really look at things steadily.
Behavior, emotions, you name it. And that's something that I've been working on. Like
in business, you can't do that, right?
No, you can't. I'm just thinking, I was eating out a lot. And, I own a restaurant, so I got to be careful what I say here. But,
And by the way, let me just say this. I'm going to plug these donuts. Donutology makes the best donuts in Kansas City. Highly recommend.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I was looking at my credit card bill at the end of the month. I'm like, what am I doing?
Now, were you doing this for business, going out, like meetings and lunches?
Sometimes. Otherwise, it's, Chipotle delivery,
They'll get you on Postmates with that delivery charge.
They will. So I started packing my own lunch on days that I don't have business meetings. So I've
noticed you look slimmer these days.
I've got a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and an apple waiting for me in the back. So
I would eat donuts every day if I was you.
Oh, I still do. Don't get me wrong, but it's definitely something I've looked at. Is that impulse, and I felt like it might have fulfilled me, for that 1 hour of lunch, but then the long-term effects just aren't good. So
I will say this: I do respect your entrepreneurial skill, because when I was growing my own business after politics, I had a decent amount of clients, and I had the opportunity at that point to hire people and grow. And for some reason, I wanted to control my own time at that young age and have the ability to do a bunch of different things. And so I partnered up with different agencies and different communications firms for back-end support, and didn't make that leap to hire a bunch of people to grow my company. So it's everything.
But grass is always greener, right? So I was
afraid of health insurance, and you're not apparently.
Well, I would say probably somewhere in the middle of your view and then my view on that matter is probably the right answer, because we were up to 95 employees, and the donuts, they sell themselves, but managing people is so tough. That's probably the number one challenge, I think, of entrepreneurs is dealing with that and all the ups and downs of the business itself.
So are donuts recession proof?
I would say, because of their low price point.
Okay. So I've always been told, in a recession, liquor and alcohol will always sell.
They will.
Movies, for the most part, over history, people still go to the movies even during a recession.
Interesting.
Maybe not as high, but people at AMC have told me that. Maybe I should check my facts.
Let's check
and
our
now
facts.
donuts. Donuts apparently are always consumable, no matter if there's a recession or the economy's good, huh?
Yeah, we've grown every year since we've been in business, so it's been good. And it sounds like we might be having another recession. I don't know if that's in your wheelhouse or not, but do you have any comments on where we're headed there?
Yeah, I've heard about that. It's funny because I hear this every year.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened yet. The last few years they've.
Well, because one year they're going to be right.
Yeah.
They just cry wolf every year, right?
I'm envious of my friends that know a lot about finance. I have some investments. I mean, frankly, since I was in politics, I had nothing. I mean, you make no money as a state rep. I mean, you make a $35K.
But they, people hear on the news that, U.S. congressmen are making 140
that is a big distinction that people don't understand.
Right, and lifetime pension and all that, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I never saved anything, because throughout that time, very little, if anything. And so I just started investing a little bit when I started my own companies. But yeah, as far as the recession, man, I hope not. I'm very pro, let's keep growing the economy.
Yep.
But it does kind of scare you as a business owner, I assume.
It does a little bit, even if we are recession-proof. On the consumer side, we do a lot of B2B, corporate catering events, and
That's
I'm
good.
sure they'll cut down on their donut spending if they're not making money too. But I will say too, we've had a lot of people in the media on this podcast, and I always like asking their perspective on fake news.
Okay.
And given, you go on TV a lot and have to get political commentary. What are your views on journalism and fake news, and has it really changed throughout the years, or is this, an actual big crisis that we're facing?
I think it has changed to the point that it's changed that everyone can be a journalist now. Everyone has a camera in their hand or a phone. Anyone can
be a podcaster.
Anyone can be a podcaster, ladies and gentlemen. I started a radio show. I started writing for, contributing to HuffPo. I do Fox 4. I did Fox 4 political analyst. I did KCPT Ruckus. Anyone can write a book. There's so many different things. I think that as far as the media, the media is like us. They have a job to do.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, most people in the media are good people, very good people, actually, that work really hard on a daily basis. A lot of people don't understand those people that you see doing a story. They got to write all that content. They have to cut the story together.
Yep.
The on-air people, they don't make a ton of money, and you know what? They work really hard. And for the most part in Kansas City, I think almost all of them are fair.
I would say that too.
And on a national level, maybe they're going to be a little more, intense, I guess, or bulldozing. But
is there a lot of hidden corporate agendas in the media? Is that a big motivation on the national level?
Not really. Yes, there are going to be, like, if you've seen the Showtime thing about Roger Ailes, you kind of know how Fox News was built.
Sure.
And they're an opinion. There's opinion shows or opinion shows.
But they're serving an audience,
right? Just like
but,
MSNBC is.
Yeah.
CNN, I interned there, and I never saw any hint of agendas or whatnot. Truly, there's a lot of journalists, and I think for the most part, journalists are good people. I always thought, you need to be friends. This whole thing that President Trump has done. Anti-media, it totally changes the apple cart, because and everything I would tell a client is, respect the media. They have a job to do. Make sure you always get back to them, even if you don't have an answer. Say you'll get back to them when you can, because they're the ones writing the story.
Sure.
It makes sense to treat them kindly.
So you've answered a portion, which is the journalists you think are good.
Some of them might be snarky sometimes.
Yeah, there's a few.
That's their livelihood. You got to
Sure.
respect their livelihood like they would respect ours, hopefully.
Yeah. But what about? You said anyone can be a journalist now, though.
Well, I don't consider
it,
myself one. You don't consider yourself one with a podcast.
But we have a platform here now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe 10, 20 years ago, we wouldn't have the same opportunities to do it, because the internet's kind of been a great equalizer in terms of, hey, anyone can say anything about anyone.
And people know they want to get likes, and the woke society, they need to say something that's outlandish sometimes, right?
Clickbait, yeah.
And the regular journalists are affected by that too.
So
it has changed. It really has, because of that. I think that is one of the key things too.
But hasn't the media always sort of been negative in terms of slant, because more people will tune in when it's negative?
Oh, you mean like the newscasts?
Yeah. Not even bias, but just the majority of the content's negative.
I think there's a lot of negative content, but then there's also a lot of YouTube videos of cats doing things on.
Sure,
on the
you
local
got to
news
balance
too.
it a little bit, right?
Yeah. I don't know that I haven't really dived into that enough, but to kind of mix it with the past versus now. But yeah, that's why a lot of people don't watch a lot of local stuff, is because they don't want to hear about all the negatives, and that's why they don't watch cable news, because they don't want to just have the fight every other night.
Right.
Some people just want to have like a regular 5:30 p.m. newscast come back.
Like, here's what happened, and that's it.
Or a national newscast. It's just not. There's no agendas. Now, a lot of these people have Twitter accounts now, right?
Sure.
So journalists, and they're tweeting out because they have to, because they need likes, they need clicks, they need name recognition, they need to raise things. And that's frustrating some people in the journalism media too, because some of these people are having their own personal viewpoints, whether it's about the president or about you name it.
Yeah. And so I guess my point I'm trying to get out is, do you have any advice for content consumers, people that consume all of this stuff, on making sure that they stay sane and happy and not get caught up in the negative spin and all that? Obviously,
that's
it's
impossible.
easier. Yeah.
I mean, because you're going to go to your natural biases unless you're an attorney who can see all sides of an issue.
Sure.
Or an analyst or a data person.
But I mean, is that something that people should focus on? Is, hey, how can I be logical about this content that I'm consuming versus the content's being designed as to draw an emotional reaction out of you?
Yeah, you can be conscious of that, and you can make sure that you understand that a lot of these things are opinion based.
Sure.
And I think maybe there should be more disclaimers out there, but with social media, with what we saw on Facebook and the ways that has changed too, like where there's stories on there that aren't true, and you go to a website and then you go to the bottom and there's like, click here to see how something, but it's been around forever, right? I mean, you've had these magazines at Walgreens or wherever. I mean, I read yesterday that Brad Pitt had plastic surgery.
No.
He's 50 to keep up. So I mean, I don't know, man. I could spin the wheels on this question for years, but I don't know. I'm really hoping that the next presidential election does not become the last one, but I'm worried that it will be there'll be a lot of untrue things being stated.
Sure.
By both sides at some point, because there's always those people in the weeds doing content, and hopefully the country is ready for that. I worry about the election security, and I worry about just the tenor of that debate.
I mean, there's a reason we still have paper ballots. I mean,
what's funny is a lot of states like Virginia, their governor McAuliffe, he was talking about the computers, like pressing.
Yeah.
And he kept pressing Democrat, and the Republican kept popping up. And so they changed the law there to like require all paper ballots, because some states have gone away from them. I think they should have them. But it's just so crazy, because then we have people like you and technology people that are like, man, I would love to go vote if I could just do it from my app on my phone.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we gotta like move forward and increase voting for people and make it easier. Like one day, Missouri, for instance, you have to have an excuse essentially to do early voting. Do an absentee.
Right.
Other states, you can vote months and months in advance. I mean, so you got to make it.
I mean, I know that's a tough thing too with the phone. 'Cause I would love that, but then they
Imagine
argue.
if you could go online and do a survey on election day. How that would change your.
But then
voting.
they talk about voter intimidation. Like you could be at home and like someone could have a gun to your head saying vote for this guy.
Oh yeah.
Or girl.
Good point. So that's why we probably just will keep it like it is, and in 100 years from now,
I know
people will be walking into a polling place at their local church or their local
There's got to be something though.
And you'll see a young politician with the yard sign. Which, by the way, a lot of politicians hate yard signs. I always like them.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of, like, Kevin McManus came on my show, city councilman, mayor pro tem, great guy, and I asked him, what one thing do you not like about being a politician or whatever, and he said yard signs. Yard signs are just annoying, and
if it wasn't for that big yard sign industry, although I think there is a big factory in Kansas City, ironically, of yard signs.
There are so many, and the mailing industry. I mean, politics hasn't really. I mean, we see all the content and what we're seeing on social media and ads, but as far as still doing direct mailers, because people are going to open their mailbox, still doing TV on network TV commercials because the the elderly or the people above 65 are going to watch local news, and still doing yard signs.
I get pitched on Yellow Pages every week, saying, "Hey."
Considered it once, because lawyers do it, and they make a fortune off of those ads.
So I mean, I guess it does work for some. Otherwise, people wouldn't be doing it. But I mean, what's next for you? What?
Good question.
So you hit the big.
Maybe you can let me invest in one of your companies.
Okay, deal. You heard it here first.
No. I want to continue to grow, both learn, have purpose, and try to continue to grow both from morally, character. I mean, just always kind of trending upwards in business culture.
So do you take it one day at a time, or I mean, obviously,
I'm not
you
in
said
an interview process. If you said, "What do you want to be doing in 5 to 10 years?" I would be like, I'm not the right guy to answer that question because
But I know that's in your mind because you did mention, hey, by 10 years,
Yeah,
I want to have something figured out.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the best way possible.
I think I've done fairly okay as far as financial
You've done great.
and doing stuff locally and working with clients. But I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to take on leadership positions in civic areas, in nonprofit areas, in community areas. I want to continue to work on development projects and things that are making Kansas City a better place. I just want to be involved, and I'm not a person who has to make tons of money. I like being involved. I like helping people. I like connecting with people.
And I think that's the key.
But at some point, I do not want to be just client services nonstop.
Sure, but I think being involved is one of the best things that people can do to find fulfillment and happiness. So
I think commitment, like being involved, being committed to your community, building relationships.
I mean, it could be a third grade basketball team, and you just go out and be that best third grade basketball coach you can be.
See, I would love to do that one. I don't have any kids yet, but hopefully I'll be able to do that. A friend of mine is now coaching in the Brookside Soccer League.
We just bought our son a Little Tykes basketball goal, and I think I've taken more shots on it than Henry has at this point. But
good for you. Now, are you going to teach them golf because you're a good golfer?
I would hope so. Actually, I have more hope for our daughter Summer to play golf. I feel like
it's every father's dream, right?
That's the real niche because I've had friends that have gone on to college scholarships with golf on the female side.
Yeah, I just watched these tournaments and these fathers with their kids, and I'm like, man, what a life! Like, I mean, you're
it is,
retired
and
and
I don't want to push
like,
them. I'm not going to be a pushy dad, but I would be very excited, obviously, if something like that happened.
I hope so. I hope so for you, and I hope that one day my son or daughter will be better at sports than I ever was. So.
I mean, that's every parent's dream. It's just to have their kids have a slightly or even way better life than they had.
Next generation, even better than the last generation. I think I'm aligned with you on all these things, man.
That's cool.
I'm surprised we haven't started a podcast together.
We need to. Let's do it.
Man.
Hey, I appreciate your time, Jason Grill.
Hopefully, I should talk about some fun things on the show. I think happiness is important, and I think it's a state of mind.
Yep.
I think that positive people really control their happiness, and I don't know. When you help people, you seem to be more happy, and when you elevate
100%.
others, you seem to be a happier person. So my take is just continue to be involved in your local community, your city, your church, whatever it is.
100%.
Because that's the only way the city and our community is going to get better, is if we all kind of work together to make it better. And that builds happiness.
Couldn't said it better myself. That's perfect.
He wrote that for me, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for reading into the teleprompter.
Thanks for your time. This is fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It's been great to be on the air.
Yeah, talk with you soon.
Yes.
Hopefully, we'll do a podcast at your bar.
Yes, we'll have the keg ready to go for you and a cold drink.
Hey, it'll be fun. Hey everyone, if you liked what you saw, please hit the subscribe button. Also, you can find us on social media in the links below. Thank you.